Beginnings are always difficult wherever one starts. There is always the question, what was before that? This question comes from our sense of objective causality that everything must be preceded by its cause. Must everything have a cause? If no, then one leaps immediately to invoking mystical beginnings. If yes, then the beginning is a logical impossibility. There can, by definition, be no beginning if everything must have a cause. By the logic of causality, beginnings are illogical. The logic of causality requires the initial existence from which we are derived to erupt spontaneously from nothing. Apparently, the notion of objective causality must violate its own logic in order to get started. The other alternative, there is no beginning, existence is somehow infinite and perpetual. This is itself a mystical assertion that comes from nowhere and goes nowhere. Such unbounded mysticism offers its supporters no possibility of either answers or clues. Beginning with a premise that our ignorance of beginnings is total and perpetual is not particularly clever. Easy perhaps, but not useful. This logical alternative provides a trivial solution that leaves no foundation upon which to build a reality. Thus, the logical result of invoking objective causality is a mystical beginning. Likewise, the logical result of denying objective causality is also a mystical beginning. Although the logic of our objective causality would seem to indicate that our beginning must be mystical, that is not necessarily sad. It depends on the reality in which such a beginning is taking place and the reality from which we are viewing it. Causality is system-specific. The logic of causality holds within the given causal system. The logic of causality can say nothing about the beginnings of its own system because those beginnings must lie outside that system, beyond the reach of its own causal logic. Imagine a hierarchy of causal systems, each being a subset of the next. Thus, mysticism may be removed from our own beginning if we can obtain the perspective of the superset to which we belong. I'm not saying that our objective causality should be tossed out. The logic of our objective causality has been and remains the philosophical foundation of our science. It has led to the technology and understanding that is now big enough to take the next step beyond the purely material. I'm a scientist. I'm simply putting it into proper perspective, pointing out its logical limitations, the boundary of its meaningful application, the fact that it requires its beginning to violate its own logic. Thus, our beginning from the point of view of our objective causality must be indefinable, or equivalently, mystical. By the time you reach the end of this trilogy, the veil of mysticism will be logically removed from our beginnings. Without this realization, our perspective and capacity to understand is trapped in a conceptual prison, a belief trap of our own making. We are free to begin exploring the larger truth. The repeatedly asked question, well, what was before that? Inevitably must end with a confession of complete ignorance. Our physical space-time causality is local and simply does not apply to what was before that. The major paradigm shift provides another alternative that is not belief-based, that does make good sense, and that is scientifically and logically productive. If you raise science as well as your vision and understanding to the next higher level of causality, the ever-present mysticism will recede to the outer edges of your newly acquired knowledge. If your understanding is significantly bigger than your neighbor may see you as a mystic. Perhaps your dog thinks that you are a powerful mystic. If your neighbor finds you to be particularly loving, wise, productive, successful, and capable, he should try to understand what you seem to understand. If on the other hand you appear arrogant, condescending, manipulating, or begin asking for donations, he would do well to keep his door locked and avoid you. The quality of your being expresses the correctness of your understanding. Think about that a moment. What does the quality of your being say about the correctness of your understanding? Special thanks to Thunderbird Perch for making this video possible. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share.